It is said that about 240 years ago, during a siege of the Shaolin monastery by the Manchu soldiers, a fire broke out which turned the monastery into ashes and brought death to many monks and unshaved disciples there. However, a few highly skilled martial artists escaped from the calamity. They changed their names and went into hiding. The few survivors included Moi, the Buddhist mistress, one of the 5 elders of Shaolin, who went into hiding and settled down on a mountain at the border of Sichuan province in China. In order to deal with the defectors who betrayed Shaolin, Moi found it necessary to create a new fighting method to cope with Shaolin Kung Fu. This new system would take advantage of all the weak points of the existing Shaolin techniques. Finally, she succeeded in creating such a system and later passed it to a girl named Yin Wing Chun. Since then, a completely new Kung Fu system developed. It is the Wing Chun Kun. Regardless of the credibility of the above story, the techniques of the Wing Chun system are indeed developed with the intention to overcome the techniques of Shaolin Kung Fu, and in complete contradiction to the traditional theory of Chinese martial arts. For instance, in the existing Shaolin system, wide stances, such as the quadrilateral stance, and the front stance are adopted in order to lower the center of gravity to obtain stability. However, in Wing Chun Kung Fu, the most important point is to maintain the stability of the center of gravity, rather than to adopt a low stance. On the contrary, if the fighter is in a higher position than his opponent, it is easier for him to attack and defend. The character 2 adduction stance is a typical posture created in line with this idea. The character 2 adduction stance is posed in such a way that the feet are kept apart but bent inwards so that an equilateral triangle is formed. When posing this, the weight is rested on the knees, being firmly supported by the feet, posing in a theory similar to that of the tumbler or the Eiffel Tower of Paris. As regards exertion of power, a practitioner of the Shaolin system uses rigid force. If 2 opponents both resort to physical power, the one who has a stronger physical power will always defeat the other one. But there are too many people who are strongly built. Therefore, a Wing Chun practitioner would have to find another way to defeat his opponent, not by crushing his power with his opponent, but to borrow the power from the opponent. Further, a traditional Kung Fu man would adopt long-range tactics, in that it allows the opponent a chance to evade or to reorganize an attack again. A Wing Chun man prefers fighting at close range to launch continuous attacks that give no chance for his opponent to get a breath. Actually, the greatest deviation of Wing Chun Kung Fu from the traditional Kung Fu system lies in concept rather than in appearance. The traditional Kung Fu places emphasis on a prearranged sequence of movements. However, in real situations, for example in a street fight, an enemy, unlike a partner, will never launch movements in the same sequence as during practice. He may do this, or he may do this, and he never tells. Wing Chun is consolidated with an idea to move according to how the enemy moves. For this reason, Chi Sao is designed for training the quick reactions of the Wing Chun man. Ever since Moy passed this system to her student Yim Wing Chun more than 200 years ago, it was passed from generation to generation secretly, at least until Grandmaster Yip Man, who for the first time began adopting students from the public. However, the achievements of his students differed somewhat from one another because of different periods of teaching and divergence in the power of understanding and attainment by individuals. Sifu Leung Ting, a chosen student adopted by the late Grandmaster Yip Man after his retirement, normally regarded as a closed-door disciple, according to Chinese tradition, has received from Yip Man what is thought to be the techniques derived from the concept formulated in the latter years of the Grand Master. With hard training and investigation over 25 years, Leung Ting's theory of the Wing Chun system are quite different from most of Yip Man's students of his early years. In order to show the difference of his concept from those of other Wing Chun instructors, Leung Ting founded his own system and called it Wing Chun. It's spelled differently from W-I-N-G-C-H-U-N, Wing Chun, or V-I-N-G-T-S-U-N, Ving Chun. At present, the International Wing Chun Martial Arts Association is the world's largest Chinese Kung Fu organization. Besides its international headquarters in Hong Kong, it also has branches in more than 23 countries. The Siu Nim Tao, literally meaning little idea, is the most fundamental form in the Wing Chun system. By little idea, it means you, as a beginner, should conceive an idea, a completely new idea, and discard the existing old idea in your mind. Like all the other forms in Wing Chun, relaxation of the whole body and maintaining lightness and softness in the execution of every movement in the Siu Nim Tao form is the most important point. other Wing Chun men have the wrong idea that a trainee should emphasize contraction of muscles. However, this contradicts the theory of making use of the opponent's power to offset his own power. Your power will, in doing this, be easily made use of. Moreover, the contraction will only be done by the biceps and the contractile muscles, whereas a punch is generated by the extensor muscles, such as the triceps and the back muscles. Therefore, weightlifting is not recommended, as this will only hinder the speed of your action. This is the setting up of stance. The feet are to be placed 1.5 sole lengths apart from each other. While posing the character 2 adduction stance, the feet should not be too close to each other, otherwise the center of gravity will be so high that the body will lose balance. Neither should they be too wide apart, otherwise it will not be easy to shift the body weight to the hind leg while changing the sidling stance. It is also wrong to bend forwards or backwards too much. The Gansao is performed by first placing the right arm below the left arm, just in front of the center of the body, and then splitting the arms down along the vertical midline of the body. Having made an internal rotation, the arms return to the center of the body, before being withdrawn to the flanks. The left and right thrusting punches. When launching the straight punches, the head should never be bent down, or you'll be like this person. The Tansao, Wusao, and Fuksao. When the arm is stretched forward in the form of the Tansao or Fuksao, the elbow should be as close to the center line as possible. As the forearm is stretched outwards, it stops when the elbow is at a fist length away from the body. The correct position of Tansao is that your forearm and upper arm form a V-shaped angle from the side view, and the palm is horizontal. If you place your Tansao position like this, you are wrong. If you think that Tansao is used for flicking the opponent's arm sideways, you are wrong. The function of Tansao is simply to contact the opponent's coming arm. Then we can make use of his coming force to turn our body aside so as to make his punch miss the target. Left, right, back and front Gun Sao. There is a key to performing the palm technique. That is, the palm should be relaxed before being thrust forward. When the arm is at full stretch, the base of the palm makes a jerking thrust. It is very hard and dangerous to break such a thick cement-like vessel. However, Leung Ting breaks it easily by giving a few slaps with his incredible soft palm technique. The Lansao, Faksao, and then the Lansao again. In performing the Faksao, the arms should spring out as if two bent rattan canes are released and then resume their original straight form. The double Junsao, double Tansao, double Jatsao, and the double Bu Ji Sao. When performing the double Jatsao, the arms should never be dragged backwards, for in doing this, your opponent is given a chance to attack you. Now press down the palms horizontally. Note that the arms are fully stretched. Raise the arms again. Then withdraw the arms. The side palm again, and the lying palm. The high tan sao, jung sao, guat sao, lao sao, and lower lying palm. Many other Wing Chun men are confused between the gan sao and guat sao. In fact, the gan sao is used along the vertical midline, so it can be used to stop an attack from the lower position, as well as to hurt the opponent's arm at the same time. Whereas the guat sao is performed by sweeping the arm outwards along a curved line until the outer line of the upper leg makes a tangent with the curve. The guat sao is used to sweep down the opponent's arm with the same arm in contact with the opponent. In most of the other fighting systems, a Kung Fu man usually withdraws his arm immediately when he misses his first attack, meaning to launch a second attack. A Wing Chun man, however, will use the same arm, which has missed the first attack, to launch a second attack, even though it is being stretched out. The bong sao, tan sao, then the reverse palm. Bong sao is performed by turning up the elbow before thrusting the arm until the upper arm forms a 90-degree angle with the body. In doing this, the fingers and the palm should be relaxed. Many people have the wrong idea about the function of bong sao. Most of them mistake it as a movement of an upper block. Some others think that the bong sao is a free-fighting posture. Some even lift up the downcoming force of the opponent by hooking the palm. Imagine the opponent attacks me with a jab punch. I don't even have to use the bong sao. But if the opponent launches an attack with a heavy straight line punch, then my forearm will be bent like a rattan cane. And if the opponent's punch comes in, my arm will be pushed to one side as a result of the coming force. If the opponent launches a down hacking attack, my arm will be bent down at first and then spring up again when it is totally freed. Therefore, bong sao is not an active movement to be performed by free will, but is a passive reaction to be performed in response to the opponent's movements. The freeing arm movements and the thrusting punches are the last series of movements of the Siu Nim Tao. They are applied on occasions when our arms are being controlled by the opponent's grappling hand or other technical movements. The chain punches, when being combined with the steps, turn out to be the most effective attacking technique in Wing Chun Kung Fu. The opponent will find it very difficult to nullify this attack. This is the stance turning exercise. From the slow motion, we can see that only one leg is in motion at any moment, while the other leg stays firmly on the ground to support the body weight. Let's note the center of gravity on turning. It's now in the center, shifted to the left, back to the center, now to the right, back to the center, left, center, right again. In quick motion, we see that the legs turn alternatively, giving many onlookers the wrong impression that both legs are turning while performing the stance turning. If, however, both of your legs are turning, your whole self will become a moving body and will be liable to fall off balance when being slightly pushed or pulled. When changing to the sidling stance, your front leg supports no burden, but stays firmly on the ground. Just like a plummet, it keeps the body from falling back when being pushed, or it works like a brace to prevent the body from falling to the front when being pulled. When stepping forward, the whole body weight rests on the rear leg, while the front leg drags the body forward. As the front leg bears no burden, it can change direction as quickly as desired when the body is still being kept in balance all the time. A Wing Chun man with such a stance can apply a kick at any moment without moving his upper body a bit. In advancing, a Wing Chun man steps forward along a curved line and not a straight line. This is an example to show us why a Wing Chun man doesn't step forward along a straight line. Don't forget to keep your knees inwards. Chum Kyu is the second form in Wing Chun, which includes 3 kicking methods, the stance turning, and variations in the Bong Sao. These movements are fundamental for further training in Chi Sao for the application of attacks or offense. There is no prearranged sequence of movements in Wing Chun, so the Wing Chun man has to apply a movement that best suits an occasion when his opponent attacks him. But how can we vary our movements to cope with the opponent's changing idea? The secret is to react according to our feeling upon contact with our opponent's arms. The Chi-Sao training serves this purpose. Chi-Sao, literally meaning the arm cleaning exercise, is an important program of training in Wing Chun, which begins with a single arm Chi-Sao. Basic movements of the single arm Chi-Sao comprise the Bong Sao, Tan Sao, and Fuk Sao. To begin with, Leung Kun initiates an active attack with the erect palm. Cheng reacts passively with the Jung Sao and then counterattacks with a punch. Cheng's punch moves the arm of Leung, so Leung reacts passively with the Bong Sao. The arms resume the Fuk Sao and Tan Sao pose again. You must take note of the aim of the training in the single arm Chi Sao and see that it is being fulfilled, otherwise it becomes useless, even though you keep on training for your whole life. Many people nowadays think that Chi Sao is a course of training for strength, and must get confused with the sequence of the partners becoming active or passive, and we could see a scene like this. Imagine the center line as a bridge that connects a Wing Chun man and his partner, both of whom wish to intrude into the other's area through this bridge while hoping to stop the other's intrusion. The force exerted by both partners is a kind of elastic force, just like two springs being placed end to end and compressed. If one becomes weaker in force or retreats, the other one will stretch out and occupy the other's space until the whole arm is at full stretch. The faster the force of one partner disappears, the faster the arm of the other one thrusts forward. This conforms with the concept of the Wing Chun system. Stay with what comes, follow through as it retreats, and thrust forward as our hand is freed. Because there is such a characteristic in the Wing Chun system, we do not have the so-called Sam Sing blocking exercise, as the other Kung Fu systems do. The double-arm Chi Sao is a more advanced course of training. The first exercise is the Pun Sao. The Pun Sao exercise, literally meaning rolling arms exercise, is an exercise not only offering us training in coordination of our two arms, but also giving us practice in correlation with the arms of our partner. Gor Sao is a fighting practice in the double-arm Chi Sao training. In the Gor Sao exercise, two partners learn how to use what they have acquired to attack or defend, while all offense movements are unknown to each other. Therefore, real fighting practice is being achieved when both partners accelerate the speed of their movements in their exercise. The first movement of Gor Sao is to coordinate the erect palm and step to attack the opponent. Cheng, feeling the force of his opponent's arm, turns his Fuk Sao to the Jung Sao with coordination of the turning stance, while changing his Bong Sao to launch a punch at Leung. Leung feels the down-pressing force of Cheng, poses the Bong Sao and Wu Sao to protect himself. When Cheng launches attack, Leung retreats a step to nullify the punching force. This is the Lat Sao movement. Leung first applies the Fuk Sao to press down Cheng's punching arm, and immediately after that turns his Bong Sao to a punching arm to launch a counterattack at Cheng. Cheng also applies the Lat Sao movement to counter Leung's attack. Leung now makes a step forward and launches a heavy punch at Cheng. Cheng, feeling the force of Leung's punch, makes use of the force to turn his stance to pose the sidling bong sao. Leung changes to guat sao to flip down Cheng's bong sao, and at the same time launches a straight line punch at Cheng. When Leung's punching arm glides over Cheng's wu sao arm, Cheng receives his force to pose the sidling bong sao as another direction to dissolve Leung's attack. Of course, Cheng can then apply the lap sao movement to counterattack Leung. But if Leung's other arm launches a fast straight-line punch from the other side of Cheng's wu sao, it's necessary for Cheng to pose the pak sao to deflect Leung's punching arm. As both Leung's arms are being pressed down together, he at once changes to the quan sao to nullify Cheng's straight-line punch. Leung immediately changes to launch double punches. Cheng's right hand moves up quickly from below to press down Leung's arm and launch a punch at Leung's chest. When Cheng is pressing down Leung's right arm, Leung immediately withdraws his left hand to apply a sideward palm to block Cheng's punch and counterattack Cheng with a man sao technique. Cheng changes to the jung sao and turns his stance to evade Leung's man sao. Cheng turns to face the front and changes to the guat sao and straight line punch to counterattack Leung. Leung applies the pak sao to deflect Cheng's punch and at the same time launches a counterattack. Cheng changes to the bong sao. Then Cheng turns his bong sao into a fuk sao movement. But at this moment, Leung quickly applies a fuk sao technique to dissolve and counter Cheng by pressing down Cheng's arm. Cheng at once adopts a sideward palm to deflect Leung's arm and launches a lower-lying palm attack at Leung. Leung adopts the gan sao to dissolve Cheng's attack. Cheng retreats a little and thrusts a straight-line punch from Leung's punching arm below. Leung changes to the sidling Jum Sao and then to the Quat Sao to counter Cheng. Cheng can change a sidling Bong Sao to dissolve Leung's punch and then counterattacks with a Lat Sao movement again. Leung can also apply a Lat Sao movement once again to counterattack Cheng. We can now see that in the double-arm Chi Sao exercise, many movements occur one after the other in cycles. We can only present a small cycle of movements in this 1-hour TV tape. More advanced Chi Sao exercises can only be offered personally by the qualified instructors of our association. The Lat Sao, or free-hand sparring, is a practice in which a trainee makes use of the movements of the Chi Sao that he's been able to master well to apply for real fighting. In Lat Sao, a trainee controls his force, whereas in real fighting training, protective gear is worn so that full force can be used. The Bu Ji is the most advanced form of the Wing Chun system. It offers training not only in elbow techniques, steps, finger techniques, palm techniques, but also in grappling hand techniques and stances. If we say that Chum Kyu trains a beginner in strict defense, then the Bu Ji can be said to offer training in nullifying an attack by using a counterattack. Therefore, it can be said that Bu Ji is a form that is dangerous and deadly. We have to emphasize that, owing to its being deadly and fatal, the Bu Ji will even endanger the trainee himself if he acquires training in it without having first grasped enough controlling skill. Many people have the wrong idea that Wing Chun emphasizes the use of hand techniques only. In fact, the most advanced attainment lies in footwork. Footwork, which includes the stance, steps, leg techniques and knee techniques, is therefore regarded as a secret item of training that not all the disciples of Viet Man have grasped. That is why so many incomplete and distorted theories in footwork have been presented by various students of Viet Man after his death. If a Wing Chun man can grasp the principles of footwork, he can effect short or long-range attacks, be able to get rid of different kicks, and even be able to evade the opponent's force or make use of the opponent's force. Though the Chum Q form includes 3 kicking techniques and partial stance turning practice, more advanced footwork techniques are included only in the courses which follow the Bu Chi training, and are mostly kept at the end of the wooden dummy techniques. They include the more difficult single leg stance, single leg Siu Nim Tao, kicking on the sandbags, steps training, and other strength training exercises for legs. After that, a trainee will receive training in feeling of the legs, similar to that for the arms in the Chi Sao. Finally, a trainee will be trained to apply his hand and leg techniques in Chi Sao or in real fighting training. This is the closest body contact kick in Wing Chun. The Shin Lock is a movement of the Wing Chun system applied exclusively for dealing with the front stance. One kick in addition will break the opponent's offense. Even though the opponent might luckily dissolve the first kick, he will not be able to evade the second kick. This ghostly movement is developed from advanced steps and foot techniques. It's too late for you when you discover that Leung is at your back. If your instep is being stamped, you can never escape. The wooden dummy techniques. This is a part of the Super 8 film from the private collection of Grandmaster Leung Ting, the only possessor of this precious property left by the late great-grandmaster Yip Man. This film was taken 10 days before the death of Yip Man, at the period when Yip was seriously ill and knew that he would not last longer, and therefore decided to make use of his last breath and energy to record in a movie what he wanted to leave behind for later generations as proof of the authentic Wing Chun techniques. However, due to technical problems, it's a pity that the film was not well taken, and some shots do not follow one another well. A Wing Chun expert can fight at any moment with the principle of Wing Chun techniques. As we can see here, this movement is derived from the side Ling Tan Sao, the spade hand from Bu Ji, and the straight line punches. This is Dan Sao in Bu Ji, combined with the Lao Sao in Siu Nim Tao. The lifting punch from Chum Q. The turning Lan Sao in Chum Q, and the hooking punch in Bu Ji. in Chum Kiu. The throat-cutting hand and spade hand in Biu Ji. And the chain kicks from the wooden dummy techniques. With the circling steps in Biu Ji. The 6.5-point pole techniques are said to be created by Master Qi Xin of the Shaolin Monastery. When they were passed to Wang Hua Bo, he incorporated them with the concept of the Wing Chun system. Though fundamentally the techniques are quite different from those of the Wing Chun boxing form. The rudiments of the long pole technique can be summed up into 7 key words. Spear, cover, sideward flick, sweep, jerk up, flip, half fence. It is said that when the first 6 techniques are applied, the end of the pole will make a round or oval dot on white paper, whereas a crescent-shaped dot will appear if the half fence is applied. The quadrilateral stance, meridian half-hanging stance, and the front stance are adopted in the pole techniques. Beginner will be trained in the pole step, the up and down pole exercise, and the spearing exercise. Then the long pole form. Then comes the Chi Kun training. And later the application of the pole techniques. Here are some examples of the application. The hand, the waist, the hand, the ear. Attack to the shin. And counter-attack to the lower leg. Ba Cham Dao. Ba Cham Dao techniques are regarded as the most advanced techniques in Wing Chun and are therefore all the time kept as top secret. Though many Wing Chun people proclaim that they know the Ba Cham Dao techniques, the truth is that Yip Man only taught the whole form to not more than 4 persons during his lifetime. Some people think that the Barb Chum Dao consists of some techniques similar to that of the Sai. In fact, this is another fabricated story. In the Barb Chum Dao techniques, we never hold the weapons in such a way while fighting, as it is too dangerous and too late to circle the weapons once if our opponent is using his weapon to attack us. Like the long pole technique, we normally use the broadswords to contact the opponent's hands, not his weapon. By doing this, we can hurt our opponent at the first moment of contact. Techniques of the Barb Chum Dao can be grouped into 8 sections of different functions to deal with different kinds of weapons of the opponent. Most of the methods in using the double broadsword are derived from the Wing Chun fist-fighting techniques. They are usually used in conjunction with the character 2 adduction stance and the triangle advancing steps. Therefore, the most profound footwork techniques are all kept in this form. Turning and changing of steps are of utmost importance in the Barb Chum Dao techniques, as the practitioner has often to cope with long weapons. This is one of the points that differs from the Wing Chun fist-fighting techniques. Of the 8 sections, the last one, the crossed broadswords technique, is composed of the most sophisticated skills of the broadswords. For in this section, the Wing Chun man, applying the exclusive steps, thrusts his weapons forward to a distance of over 13 feet in one movement, to overcome in particular long weapons such as the long pole. This videotape contains the quintessence of the whole Wing Chun Kung Fu system. For further information and the theories in detail, we suggest you read the book Wing Chun Kun, written by Grandmaster Leng, or write to any one of our branches in your own area.